Well, not only is today the big local derby against Posh, but we're both in the promotion hunt to the Premier League. This is mad. Hello and welcome to part 113 of It's Coming Home. I'm Kevin. Coming up on today's episode, we have the big local derby at home against Peterborough and away against Brentford, both in the Championship. Ticket sales for this match, where is it? It was on here somewhere. Come on, Kev, where's your ticket sales thing? It mentioned, sellout expected for Peterborough match. We've had sellouts at the Ceramic New Stadium before, but usually more than half of them are away fans. The really significant thing for this one is we're expected to sell out with only 200 fans being away fans, the Posh fans. So we're going to have 5,300 home fans in our stadium, and I'm pretty sure that's comfortably a record, even our average attendance this season in the Championship, with some big clubs bringing big away crowds. Our average attendance is lower than the number of home fans we're going to have in the ground. This is our landmark moment. I'm very excited. Since you were last with me, form has been patchy, as usual. Form is always patchy. And I'm kind of making my peace with it because everyone's form is patchy in the Championship. You just don't seem to have any teams who go on long winning runs and sort of run away with things, because despite how patchy our form has been, we're still only 7 points off the top of the league. We're still only 4 points behind automatic promotion. We're playing the team who are in that second automatic promotion spot today. So we could end the episode in an automatic promotion spot, despite the fact our form is all over the place. And it just seems to be the way this league works. We say it every season. Everybody beats everybody else, and then sometimes we end up in the playoffs and sometimes we don't. And I think it's going to be a similar story this year. And it's going to be the forever story for as long as we're in, where are we? This situation of, and I know I show you this all the time, but I do like to keep providing context, because sometimes I think people get a little bit frustrated that we're not progressing as a club. But I'll always refer you back, maybe not to transfer spend, because we spent some money this year, but salary per annum. Millwall are spending £70 million a year on salaries. We're spending £6 million. Now, I know that's probably doubled in the time that we've been in the Championship, and we are catching up with some of the smaller teams, but there's your context. We've got teams like that and that and that. I mean, Brentford, we play them in this episode. They're spending £41 million on wages. We're spending £6 million. So, I think we're overperforming as ever. Let's get into the Posh match, though. This is the big one. It's Tuesday night as well, a record attendance, or a record home attendance on a Tuesday night. It's just so exciting. And this is our team. We've got Montebello in goal, a back four of Wearmouth, Rogers, McLeish and Gregson, with Harrison, Fernandez and Moncur in midfield, Moss in behind, Fayette and Harris up front. We're going with Fayette. I mean, he's not looked spectacular yet, it's got to be said. He has got one goal. He does seem to link play up quite well. He seems to work quite well with Anthony Harris. Ollie Steer not in the best of form currently, although he is there available on the bench with his 17 goals so far this season, so we'll bring him on if we need him. But we're going with Fayette today. I don't know. What? Rogers has got a transfer. Oh, no. I hadn't even noticed that must have just happened. So this is, he's been on loan with us for ages from Burnley. 4 seasons in a row he's been on loan. Obviously, I had hopes of bringing him in on a free transfer this summer. Not being able to, because we were never in a position to offer him a contract until the end of the season. And this is another one of our good players who's going to be going off to play in the MLS. The MLS must be surging as a league. I don't know where that stands in the grand scheme of things. But for them to steal 2 up-and-coming Championship players, can we have a look to see where the MLS is on reputation? Can anyone see it on here? The MLS? MLS, anybody? I don't. Why? Is it because I've not got it loaded? Does this only have leagues I've got loaded, or are they really all the way down here? It must just be leagues that are loaded. But then I don't have Belarus loaded. Perhaps it's just Europe. How does this work? Filter. All nations. The USA isn't a nation, apparently. I don't understand. But either way, the MLS is stealing players again. So we've got ourselves in a ridiculous situation where we're going to need to buy a centre-back in the summer, which is mad. I guess we've got McLeish. We did buy Hayes. I forgot we brought in Hayes. Hayes hasn't actually played for us yet, but I guess he's going to have to step up probably towards the end of this season. Now we know that we're losing Rodgers. That's sad. Very sad. So, Montebello in goal. A back four of Wearmouth, Rodgers, McLeish and Gregson. Harrison, Fernandez and Moncur in midfield. Moss, Fayette, Harris up front. I feel like I've done that whole team once already. But let's not worry about that. Let's get into it. I'm nervous and excited. I'm trying to combine the two words and can't. Nervous excitement. There you go. That's the best you're going to get out of me. But Posh, as a Posh fan in real life, I'm very excited at the prospect of them ending up in the Premier League. But at the same time, we're in touching distance of it as well. And then the third scenario in my head is there's still 8 games to go after this one. Imagine if we went up to the Premier League together. It would be an absolute dream scenario for the city of Peterborough. I mean, for those of you who haven't perhaps been involved since the start of the series, don't know where Holme is. Holme is a little village just outside of Peterborough. The city of Peterborough has never had a Premier League team. It could be about to get 2 at the same time, which would be insane. Fire in behind, crosses towards Harris, but doesn't get there. Moncur finds Moss. Moss tries to shoot, but it ends up with Harrison and Wearmouth in a crossing position. Crosses to Gregson, who heads wide. That was a terrible header from Gregson. Of all the people we would want in that attacking position, I know I love the full-back to full-back cross, but not for a header. They're not good in the air. Harrison now plays it over to Fernandez, back to Wearmouth. Wearmouth with the cross. There's Gregson again, brings it down. That was much better for the fullback to fullback cross, and it does lead to a goal. And Oliver Gregson, 3rd goal of the season, grabs our first goal of the match and puts us 1-0 up against our big local rivals, our big promotion rivals. And that goal is massive. Home 1, Peterborough 0. Oh, even saying it, I'm so excited. I love the fact we're playing Posh and it's a meaningful game. I never thought we'd reach this point. Look at the Championship League table. Just imagine. Oh my word. Gregson nods back to Montebello, who just keeps hold of it. This is nuts. This is better than when it was. I know for the story we all loved the rivalry with Chester that went on for so long, but I would love the fact that I would love it if 5 years' time, us and Posh are both in the Premier League and it's just a regular rivalry in the Premier League. And it's just like, yeah, it's one of the big derby days you get in the Premier League each year. It's like Manchester United against Liverpool. It's like Arsenal against Tottenham. Yeah, we have home against Posh twice a year and it gets on Super Sunday. Oh, it would be lovely. It does also mean if they went, here's a scenario, if they got promoted with us, because one of our concerns, I'm getting so ahead of myself, but if we get promoted, we're obviously going to have to leave the Serenity Stadium. It's hard-coded into the game that you can only have a new stadium every 20 years. There's no way around that. I don't have the editor turned on. Can't change that. We can't expand the ground. Its maximum expansion capacity is 5,500. It's as big as it's going to get. So we're going to have to leave this stadium when we get promoted. And the worry has been that, well, Posh's ground is also not good enough for the Premier League, so we won't ground share with them, so we're going to end up ground sharing at Leicester or Milton Keynes or somewhere like that that's miles away from home. But obviously if Posh come up with us, then they're going to have a Premier League quality ground as well, which means they're either going to have to expand or build a new stadium. I don't know if we could potentially do a ground share thing where we just build a big super stadium in Peterborough that we both use. That would be awesome. Right, don't get complacent out there. I know we conceded a goal just before half-time, but I was too busy in my dream scenario where we have the city of Peterborough Stadium just off the A1 and half of it's painted blue and half of it's painted green and we rotate matches there. And it's just like the Italian model. It would be amazing. That's what I want to happen now. Perhaps that's what the game's setting up for me. Moncur out to Gregson. Gregson has had a cracking game, but can't get the crossover there, but does get back and win the ball back again. Moncur wants to give it back to Gregson, but it ends up with Fernandez, who just sprays it over to the other fullback, Wearmouth, who gets his crossover, and Anthony Harris gets his second of the game. In my head, Anthony Harris grew up a posh fan. He grew up in Peterborough. Home didn't exist until he was 16 years old and signed for us. So as far as I'm concerned, Anthony Harris is a posh fan, as is Lerick Fernandez. These are all players who grew up locally, and the only local club that existed is the one they're now playing and trying to get into the Premier League against. I don't want us both in the playoffs. Bristol City, wind your necks in. Because if we're both in the playoffs, it was much fun as a playoff final between Posh and Home would be. That feels very romantic too. That doesn't lead to the new ground that we need them to get so we can ground share with them. Right, Fayette's going to come off. Steer's going to come on. We've also got Paul Perry on the bench, who I'm going to bring on for Fernandez. And that will do for now. It feels like the kind of game I should get Ross McCrory on for. McLeish isn't having the best of games, and McCrory just has that experience and leadership ability, and I feel like he should probably be involved as a result. Moncur, though, is a man I'm going to take off. Bring on Knowles, and we're going to praise them, and hopefully we're going to hold on. There you go. Bristol City did as they're told. They've dropped back down below both of us, and now we just need Burnley to stop being annoying. And then I don't even care if Posh go up as champions and us second. That is absolutely fine by me. I'm happy with it either way round. But my dream now is for us and Posh to get automatic promotion together and then build the City of Peterborough Stadium, which is what I'm already naming it. And or I don't know, you have to get both names in. Peter names down in the comments. What can we name a joint stadium between the two clubs in this really unlikely scenario that I'm dreaming of? It'll probably just have us both ground sharing. Posh will go to Leicester, we'll go to Milton Keynes, and that'll be that. No one will ever build a new ground, and it'll be very sad. Or they'll build their new ground, but because we're already at Milton Keynes, it'll never move us there. I don't know if it changes who you ground share with at any point. That'd be sad. But that was a good win. Hopefully we can now pick up another one against Brentford and really get this automatic promotion push rolling. Just a few changes in the interest of rotation for the Brentford game. Then Steer comes back in alongside Harris. Bowery comes in for Moss. I was going to call him Morris then. We haven't had a Morris for years. And Teasdale just rotates in for Gregson. I know Gregson had a very good game in the last game, but both Teasdale and Gregson have had cracking seasons, and I tend to just rotate them almost game by game at the moment because they're pretty much the same player. If we have a look at their star ratings, there's really not very much between the two of them, and they've both had cracking seasons. So Teasdale comes in to continue his. It keeps them both fit. They both do a lot of running. There's logic there. I know changing your defence regularly probably isn't the best idea, but at least it's at fullback and I'm not constantly changing my centre-back partnership. Rodgers and McLeish are pretty established now, although obviously we do need to establish someone else alongside McLeish. Now Rodgers has decided to do the dirty on us and go to America with the turd, to go and hang out with the turd in the MLS. Right. There's a lot of options here today. And we're huge underdogs, isn't it? Yeah, let's do a huge underdogs one. I always like an underdog team talk. There's a lot of options there. We're obviously keeping an eye on what Posh are up to as well. Brentford hovering just outside the playoff spots. A win for them today, and they fly straight back into the playoff spots and are only 2 points behind us. Like I say, everyone's constantly beating everybody else in this league. Everything is so tight, and we've just got to keep on winning. We've got a couple of wins on the bounce now. We've talked about it all through the season. Anytime you get a 5 wins on the bounce run, you'll find yourself right up in the mix. We had one earlier in the year that dragged us from like 18th back up into the playoffs when we had our poor start. If we can find a way to do another 5 wins on the bounce run here, we will be top of the league at the end of it, because that's just how this division works. But it's very difficult to get that run going when you're constantly playing against teams that throw as much money around as Brentford clearly do. Spent a lot of time in the Premier League over the last 15 seasons, and it shows in the amount of money that they're spending on players. Harris, I thought he'd slotted that through to Bowery, but didn't quite get there. And McLeish, his header only goes as far as a Burnley player, and we've left ourselves under a little bit of pressure here, and we've just been hit on the counter-attack. A couple of times we didn't quite complete what we were trying to complete. Harris couldn't quite slot the ball through to who he was looking for, and this header from McLeish is a poor one, and he'd gone a long way forward to make the header and then headed it straight to one of their players, and it left a big hole behind him, and it has led to us going 1-0 down. Let's not panic just yet. We know we'll always concede goals in this system, but hopefully we'll find a way to score a few today as well. With, it's not quite the 60 goal a season strike partnership we used to have with Matondo, but Harris and Steer closing in on 40 goals between them this season, which isn't too shabby. Bowery to take the corner. Corner comes over towards Steer. Steer does get on the end of it, but can only head it into almost said Stoke, into a Brentford player ahead of him. It's all these red and white stripes. There's too many stripy teams. Lerick Fernandez has just got his 4 for the season. The amount of times I've almost written that man off over the years, and he is still popping up with great performances and important goals. Lerick Fernandez, he must be closing in on being the all-time record appearance holder at this point. Obviously, Shane Phillips has now moved on. Mick Powell has barely played for years. Fernandez was only a year or two behind those two coming out of the youth team, and he's pretty much been ever-present ever since. He must be close to, if not breaking it this season, he'll break that record next season, I'm sure, and must be pushing. He must be closing in on 400 league appearances for us at this point, which is a phenomenal contribution to his local club. Montebel gets hold of the ball from the header, and just before half-time, now would be a lovely time to score a goal. Fernandez to Bowery, releases Ollie Steer, who can only run straight into a Brentford defender. And once again, another header that just goes straight to one of their players. I don't know if they're just setting their midfield up so it's not quite in line with ours. I mean, they've got their... Oh, that's poor. Oh, we've got away with it. I don't know how we got away with that. Was that Montebel who cleared it eventually, or... It might have even been McLeish coming back to cover. But either way, we have absolutely got away with it from a big mistake from Montebel there. And we go in 1-1 at half-time. We've got to be pretty pleased with that, I think. Let's try a different tact at half-time. Let's motivate them. Let's try it. Come on, we want to get into an automatic promotion spot. We've beaten Posh. Now let's move above them. Moncur, no. Highlight just ends. But what I was saying before is they've got their bank of 4, and it just seems like they're playing around our 3 different lines of midfield, which doesn't make any sense to me. But every time we head the ball clear, it goes to them, and our players are nowhere near them. So I don't know if that means they're playing deep or further forward. This is why you need full highlight things on rather than just key highlights, because you can actually work out what they're doing and try and counter it. But we all know that's not the Kev style. Rogers, back to Wearmouth. Wearmouth to Fernandez, to Wearmouth again. Harrison, Bowery to Fernandez. Fernandez plays it out to Teasdale. This is a lovely move. Teasdale crosses to Steer, who should have scored. That was a big, big chance for Ollie Steer, and he heads it over. And right, what are we going to do to win this game? Anthony Harris is not playing particularly well. We're going to bring Carl Marsh on for him. Moncur not having the best of games, so Knowles can come on for him there too. Very easy substitutions to make. I like the fact with my strikers now we've got 2 advanced forwards, 2 pressing forwards. It just makes it easier to make those substitutions and play all 4 of them. Back when we used to have Harris, Matondo and Marsh as backup, it was difficult to play Harris and Marsh together. Whereas, that goal's been disallowed. Excellent stuff. Whereas now we can give all 4 of them game time, which keeps them all happy, which is good. And in that spirit, we're going to bring Fiat on as well for the last 10 minutes. We've also asked for 10 minutes of passion to end the game. And fingers crossed, we can find a late winger. I mean, a draw in this game is not a bad result, but it doesn't give us those 4 or 5 wins in a row that we need to really push on. And Brentford look most like scoring at the moment. They've just had a goal disallowed and now they're on the attack again, but we're going to try and counter for a big ball forward from Harrison, and Fiat is in behind. Marsh is trying to catch up, but Fiat has to try and do it alone and wins a corner. And we need a goal here. Harrison with the corner. Just stick it on someone's head, preferably a green man. No, that was a red man. You don't listen. Harrison with another attempt at a cross that, I mean, that just went straight into the advertising boards behind the goal. We have moved above Posh accidentally. They've obviously gone behind in their game. Burnley are not playing their role because they're now running away with the league a little bit, 6 points clear, because once again, everybody chasing them is just beating each other or unable to beat each other. So we do end the episode in an automatic promotion spot, like we said we might, but we are a long way further off top of the league than I think we were at the start of the episode, and Posh aren't with us, which is very sad. Before we go, I want to show you, I've got to remember where this goal was. There was a goal we scored, I think it was in the last match that I played last night, and it was a beautiful corner. It was Anthony Harris who scored it, but we'll just look at one. I'm not gonna show you. Is it gonna let me show you the goals? How do we look at goals? I meant to show you this at the start of the episode. I think it's this goal from a corner, and it's the maddest corner oh no, that's Rogers. I've clicked the wrong one. It was the maddest corner I've ever seen in Football Manager. I've loaded the wrong highlight. Actually, that might have been the right highlight. Oh, you should have had this ready, Kev. Right, Anthony Harris. Here you go. This isn't a corner, so it must have been the other one. If it isn't this one, you'll never see it. I'll try and put it on Twitter or something. It might. No, it's not that one. Come on, we're going to find it now. Anyone still watching at this point wants to see this mad corner. So, is this a corner? And there was no one in the 6-yard box. That's what made it so mad. So let's have a look to see if it's this one. No, because that's a free kick. I know I was sat on my sofa watching it happen. It must be this one. Otherwise, I dreamt it. So let's have a look at this one. Is it from a corner? That's the question that we're asking ourselves. If it is, then no. Did I dream this goal? I give up. There was a fancy corner we scored. What a way to end an episode. We'll be back tomorrow with Charlton and Palace for the last 2 games of the regular season. And then who knows what happens after then. It might be a transfer special if we get automatically promoted. It might be the playoffs. But either way, we find out a lot about how our season is going to turn out in tomorrow's video. Charlton, Crystal Palace. It's going to be a big one. If you've enjoyed that, please make sure you leave a nice big thumbs up on there for me. Subscribe to the channel for daily Football Manager videos. And thank you very much for watching.